Welcome to the Jeremy Mullins podcast, where we take a deep dive into different educational topics to help you optimize your life. And today is going to be a deep dive into Magic Kingdom.
That's right.
I am Jeremy. I'm your host. I am today here with my co-host Reno. How are you?
I am surviving. First full week back home, but it's just like you. Yeah, and you'll tell the people.
Yeah, we got to see each other, I think, for a total of 8 minutes this past weekend.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably. That sounds right.
So yeah, we both had drill and passing, and planned on lunch. Couldn't we got caught up in paperwork on our end, so bought lunch for my colleagues, and it's kind of old, hey, you fly, I'll buy type of deal, and at least we got to eat a little bit of lunch together and then move forward. So, but yeah, things, man, life is just hectic, busy, crazy. That's the answer to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of hectic, busy, and crazy, today's topic we're going to talk about, eating at Magic Kingdom. So, we're going to actually kind of break this down into the different parks at Walt Disney World, just for the simple fact that, hey, I've got season tickets and I'm going to go a few times. I know you yourself have went multiple times in the past, at least 18 months, right?
Yeah, we've gone twice, and yeah, about 18 months yet.
Awesome. So, I think that's something, that a lot of people do struggle with, is vacation, right? And, and I get it to a certain degree. I think things have changed a little bit, with vacations in general, just with, how jobs are and with, basically people being on 24/7 in a lot of cases. Sometimes what comes with that is a little bit more free time. And I'll touch on that in a second, but I want to get started with thanking everyone, for listening to the podcast, sharing the podcast, and getting the word out there. I think we're on our way to 30,000 downloads now, and we're not even 6 months into the year, or 6 months even into the podcast. Thanking our sponsors, Summit Rejuvenation. They are a online and in-person clinic, and with them, the great thing is, and you guys know this, I don't know what order these are coming out, but tomorrow I'm going to have surgery to reattach my old man tendon. So I tore my distal bicep tendon deadlifting, just I don't freak accident, right? Like did nothing wrong, had good form. It was just one of those things, right? But the cool thing about it, I've heard some stories of other people doing the same injury, like pulling stakes out of the ground, carrying couches, microwaves, like some just random stuff. So at least I've got something like badass or cool to be like, hey, I was deadlifting 500 pounds and it happened.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so what's cool about working with Summit, personally, is I was able just to message the doctor, set up a consult, and get out some peptides that have been clinically shown to help recover tissue and tendons faster. So I ordered some peptides to help my recovery. So that's another benefit of being a client of theirs. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more specific. Okay. So, and then also with GreenUp Wealth, our financial advisor sponsor, who, if you're looking at anything, setting up, your financial game plan from retirement to anything to do with financial, they take care of that stuff. Okay. And of course, our unofficial sponsor, First Form, which is who pays my bills every 2 weeks. And then we're trying to sneak the Kentucky National Guard in. We're going to lean on them, right? They could be sponsors.
We're gonna sneak them in. I already talked to a recruiter. We'll get them in there.
Yeah, so hey, if you're interested in the National Guard, reach out to us. We both can give you different perspectives. And I think this is something cool when we start talking about the Guard is like, you got to look, we're specialists, right? That's the cool thing that I've learned about the Army in general, and especially the Guard, is like, hey, you stay in your lane and you do your role, which is kind of
Yep.
neat, right? And I think a lot of people don't know all the roles that are, inside of the Army, inside of the National Guard that, someone may fit. So just want to start out. I want to do a better job talking about our, partners on the podcast. So a lot of times I wait and then I don't say anything. I know you do a good job putting them in the links, but going to kind of be better about that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna start using Summit here soon, after getting my blood work back. But I use both, or I'm gonna start using Summit, and I use GreenUp Wealth. So it's not like they're just a part of it. We both use them as
Yes, right. They
right.
they were client slash friends slash colleagues of mine, right? And they start out supporting it. So that's the great thing. And as we grow, if we we both joked about this. We both drive Chevrolet vehicles. If GMC Chevy wants to come and sponsor the podcast, we'll be more than happy. If it's something that does align with us, from that standpoint, right? Or hey, Buffalo Trace, if Buffalo Trace wants to sponsor us with bourbon, I'd be okay.
Yeah, I got right
It's
here.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
yeah, there's the top of it.
we'd be okay. So, but hey, today's topic, I want to talk about eating, and I think this can relate over to a lot of different people, right? And not just necessarily Disney, but anywhere you're traveling, right? And a lot of times I work with clients and they really struggle when they travel. They really struggle when they're in a place that whatever they've been doing is not available. Okay. And I think that's a lot of times the problem with programs out there is when you're on a program where it has all these rules and these regulations, you don't learn to adjust on the fly, for lack of better terms. Okay. And what I have found that works really well is if you can control, two or three of your meals or your feeding episodes in a day, you can still land your calories and your protein during the day, right? So if we take a step back and say, okay, what's the most important part? If you're first one time you ever listened to this because you just saw the title was eating at Magic Kingdom, at first, welcome. But second, make sure you go and kind of listen to the beginning of this podcast where we kind of go through the education of calories, protein, carbs, and fats, right? So the ultimate goal, if you're trying to lose body fat, you are trying to hit your protein goal for the day and you're trying to be at your calories or below. Okay. Now remember, that is a calorie deficit. So if you're just trying to break even on a day that you're traveling, or going to Disney or fill in the blank, you could be a little bit higher than that in calories, right? So the maintenance calories is going to be a little bit higher than your calorie deficit. So your number one goal is just to be within a certain calorie range when you travel, vacation, and hit your protein. Okay. But what I see is a lot of people just throw caution to the wind. They end up not getting their protein in and they just end up overeating on calories in general because they're like, well, there's no way I can win today. And if I can't win, I might as well just lose by 100.
Yeah, yeah. They start off with a frappuccino and a muffin, and then we just might as well. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll catch up tomorrow, and that's just never gonna happen.
And then you just feel like crap, right? Because you ate like crap, and then, you feel bad because you lost the day, even though you in your mind, you're like, well, I might as well lose by 100 and not worry about it. It's still just, it takes its toll. Okay. So what I would like to do is just kind of walk you through my day first. I know you had actually been to Magic Kingdom recently, so we can just talk about like, hey, how do we approach this? Okay. And what I try to do is, I am not on some super strict diet that I have a competition or a show or something like that, right? So I do want to put that caveat there that might be a little bit different if you are training for something specific and you have to stick to everything. Okay, that's a little different. Then you might be eating out of your Tupperware bowls, right? You may go into the park, come back out to the park to your vehicle, have all of your meal prep, in your vehicle, and then go back in. Cool. That's one approach. Okay. What I'm trying to do is speak to the average mother, father out there that's taking their kids to Disney World, right? And what I like to do is know, okay, if I eat 4 times a day and I can control two of those settings with approximately 60 grams of protein, then that's going to put me at 120 grams of protein for the day, along with keeping my calories relatively low. Because when I have my Formula One protein shakes, that's going to give me 60 grams of protein and keep the carbohydrate and the fat relatively low, just onesies and twosies. Okay. Then I've just got to make good choices between that to be able to land in my maintenance calories somewhere around 2,800 to 3,000 calories. And then I would argue at a day at Disney, no matter if it's Magic Kingdom or, one of the other parks, you're going to get a boatload of steps.
A ton, yeah. Especially Magic Kingdom's the smallest park, I believe, out of the four.
Oh, did you do some stats on that? Is it?
Yeah, I think it is the smallest. And
Okay.
then like, yeah, Epcot, yeah, I believe it is the smallest.
And I would say the average person, right? Just based on us going, 6 or 7 times, not trips, but days here in the last year, I'm always over 20,000 steps a day. right? So when we
Mhm.
go there, I'm over 20,000 steps a day. And so for me, right, 5'8" ish, on a good day, 5'9", on a bad day, about 5'7", 215 pounds. I can maintain my weight if I'm walking 20,000 steps a day. I'm burning 3,000 calories on that day, right?
Yeah.
And if I control two of my meals by doing shakes and then make decent choices, okay, and I say decent because I'll list out what I consumed this last trip to show you that hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can still stay in your caloric goal and win the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I pulled it up, and it's better if you know it on your end, but um, the biggest thing that you're going to burn calories in is standing in line. And if you've been to Magic Kingdom, even when you buy that lightning lane in the mornings or whatever it is, you're going to be in line for up to 2 hours for a 15-second ride.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, you want to burn more steps walking, right? But I think
God,
that's
I love burning calories walking at
yeah.
Magic Kingdom rather than
I'm
standing.
sure that stat came from the average time that someone's standing, right?
Right.
So I'm sure that's what it's looking at. So, unfortunately, depending on the season that you're going, you are standing in line, right? But you think about that, you get 20,000 steps in, plus you're burning those calories standing in line, like that's significant, right? And this is just a number that came, and this was, this is by no means research. This is just a Google thing that I found, right? This comes from the Orlando Weekly that, according to a graphic, you can burn the most calories while strolling through Disney Magic Kingdom, burning around 1,500 during, the park, right? Epcot, so second at 1,500. Universal Studios clocks in at 1,300, right? So that's the average person, saying that they're burning that many calories, okay? So once again, go back to me. My resting metabolic rate at roughly 215 pounds, right, is plus or minus 10%. I'm older now. Trust me, I am learning that I am definitely middle aged now. Um, I burn roughly 2,000 calories a day just existing. Okay, so quick recap education on that. You burn about 10 calories per pound of body weight, plus or minus 10, 15%, depending on age and how much body fat you have to lose. So I roughly burn 2,000 calories a day. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if I can stay at 3,000 calories when I go to the park, I'm winning that day because I'm maintaining. I might not be losing a bunch of body fat or burning a bunch of body fat, but I'm still winning that day by enjoying time with my family, right? Enjoying and not beating myself up because I have X, Y, or Z, and I'm coming out ahead, right? So for me, according to these average numbers, that's going to put me somewhere between around 3,500 calories a day. And so when we went last time, I did the shake at home before we left, right? And so we drove to the park. We've actually found, for anybody that is military, there's a double tree by Hilton that is really close, and it is they call them sponsorship or partners with Disney. So you get early entry into the park. So not only do we, excuse me, get a military discount on the hotel stay, we get into the park early. So I had a shake there, because you got refrigerator, everything in the room. The kids and everybody eats breakfast there, so it's saving us some funds, right? Go to the park, and then when the kids get hungry, that's generally when we'll eat the first meal. Now, this time I chose to do 2 meals at the park. Usually I'll just do one and then maybe take in some snacks, right? Take in, peanut butter and jelly. What are they called? The
The Crustables.
Uncrustables, right? Take in the Uncrustables with another protein shake. But I wanted to kind of do this to show individuals, hey, where can you come at, right? Instead of being like, well, Jeremy's just drinking 3 shakes a day. Well, there's some cost effectiveness into taking a shake and an Uncrustable, versus spending $15 on double cheeseburger, which I did, right? So that's normally what I'll do, okay? Or if it's not the Magic Kingdom, I will allow myself a few adult beverages to work into that 3,000 calories. So, but
Right.
that's a different episode. We'll get into that. So what I ended up having was breakfast. There's this little egg type deal. So it had like pico on it. It did have sour cream. I chose not to eat the sour cream, knowing that it was higher in calories. So pico, egg omelet, a little bit of cheese in it. And I say egg omelet because it could have been the carton eggs. It probably is not real eggs. Over top of some hash browns. Okay. Couldn't find the nutrition value on this. So what I did was a hash brown burrito, right? Just estimated it from that 800 calories. So I probably overestimated, to be honest, right? But I would rather overestimate in these situations than underestimate. Okay. So that was quote
breakfast food, but it was probably more around, 10:30, 11 versus the shake was early that morning around 5 a.m. Okay. As the day goes along, of course, drinking water throughout the day, and then for lunch slash early dinner, did a double cheeseburger, so bacon double cheeseburger, had half the bun. So once again, just making a choice where, especially if the buns are really big on a burger, I'll always do half, right? Because I just like the taste of the meat versus the bread. So a lot of times, if the bun is a large bun, for me, I'll just get rid of half of it, and then kind of double up on the one half I keep, and then that makes my sandwich. Didn't do the sides that come with it. Had water to drink, and then I also worked in a Mickey ice cream, which is I think about 350 calories for the large Mickey ice cream. And at the end of the day, when all was said and done, when I was home, I ended up at 28 800 calories and had over 200 grams of protein by working those things into that day.
Yeah. Adding the protein, the first day I didn't do the whole add the protein shakes in the mornings. But I was actually surprised. I know I wasn't adding the Disney meals specifically through the first format. I was just adding like chicken sandwiches. But if you're a meat eater, you'd be surprised on how you can get enough protein in with the Disney meals as long as you're picking the right things. You're not doing just straight up pasta
Yeah.
um, or whatever else. But I was actually very shocked on how much easier it was. And I found myself, I hate drinking water, which I hate to admit, but I found walking around all day, I found my water consumption like almost at 200 ounces because you're just pounding water the whole time.
Yeah. So, if you're going to Disney, right, I would definitely, plan ahead to where you can maybe take some snacks, or items into the park. Because once again, that's just going to save you some finances, right? Everything's going to cost a little bit more there, just like it does at any convenient foods at any park, right? You're going to be paying 11, 12, 13, 14, $15 generally for, entrees. So that's a way to keep costs down, save some finances, and to stay on track. But the biggest thing is that mental shift away from I cannot eat good, so I'm just not caring, right? To just looking at it and be like, okay, how can I make this work for me? Okay. And I understand if you're a smaller female listener, you're like, well, Jeremy, I can't eat 2,700 calories. I got it, but you probably don't need to eat, right, the volume of food that I ate that day. All right. If you still replace, two of your quote unquote meals with shakes, you can choose a sensible, choice, whether it be lunch, dinner, entree that you're getting. And it doesn't have to be what we traditionally think is good food, right? It could be whatever you want to, and just keep the portions, within check, and you can make it work, right? Because I see so many people just throw caution to the winds, like, well, I can't have success, so I might as well not even try, and that one day then leads, like we said, into 3 or 4 days where they're not doing good. And then, what's good, either they don't get back on track, or, they just they struggle because they don't see results from 3 day trip or 4 day trip, etc.
Now, do you find it better going into Disney? They do their protein shakes, they do all that stuff. They try to hit their macros, but they're consistently, obviously, they're walking more. They're going to be burning more calories. So if they go a little bit over, it's okay. But say they're going um, significantly over each day. Do you find it better that, hey, they're tracking and they know that they're over each day than rather than not tracking and then not knowing that they're over?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this goes with what I say all the time. I don't want people to track 365 days a year, right? I have clients that have told me when I started saying, really pushing, like, I don't expect you to track forever. There are clients that said, Jeremy, I enjoy tracking. I enjoy it. I will do it for the rest of my life. Cool. Roger that. That works for you. For some people, it brings a little bit of anxiety. But if you are new and you're really trying to adopt this lifestyle, then I would say, yes, track, just so you're aware of, right? And you can see that, oh man, I had 5,000 or 10,000 calories a day, whatever it is, from that standpoint, right? So I think awareness is just something that it can really bring to us, if we're tracking. So, but don't bring the baggage of messing up with you. I think that's the big thing too, right? Like, hey, if you're over your calories, no big deal, right? Be active, right? Move. And we're just really trying to keep a lot of these habits, okay? And then the fact of like protein. I think that's the ones we're kind of missing with this too, is, when we do see people overeat, they're overeating a lot of calories that are coming from the carbs and the fats, and they're not getting that protein in for the day.
Yeah. That's been a game changer, is adding in like if I am slightly hungry, just either whether it be a protein shake or just leftover chicken in the fridge or whatever, having that small amount of protein has kept me hungry longer than me eating some heavy carb thing, and then I'm feeling sluggish and then hungry again within 45 minutes. So, especially at Disney, that goes a long way.
Yeah. So, hey, one thing is mindset, right? When you go into your trips, have a game plan, make sure that you're, planning ahead with what works for you. I am, once again, a big fan of protein shakes at this point, because yes, you could do turkey, you could do chicken, you could do some of the leaner meats, right? And get the protein to carb to fat ratio that we're talking about, where the protein's high and the carbs and fats are low. But, that's very, very difficult to pack with you, eat by itself, etc. So this is the time that I think protein shakes really come into play, right? And I've traveled a lot this weekend, and kind of out of the community of people that are doing the first form. They're like, well, Jeremy, shakes just don't taste good. The reality is you're probably not buying a good quality brand, okay? And I'm not just saying first form with this. There are brands out there that taste good, and the difference is how they process these proteins, okay? There's one that's basically high temperature process, and companies that do low temperature processing. You can think of the difference of this as like cooking a chicken breast on in a crock pot being low temperature, or cooking that same chicken breast on a grill at 700 degrees, right? And you can just see the difference between that chicken breast when you're just going to come off, a grill at 700 degrees versus cooking it for 10 hours, right? That chicken breast that's been cooked for 10 hours is soft, I want to say chewy, but, breaks down very easy. You're going to absorb it. It's going to taste good. Versus the grilled chicken that was on there for 700 degrees is probably going to be a little bit burnt, tough to eat, and not taste as good, even though it's the same chicken breast. And that's the same way it goes with protein. Your protein powder should feel good. You shouldn't have to mix it with chocolate milk. You shouldn't have to mix it with some other. You should be able to mix your protein shake with water, and it tastes good.
Absolutely.
Right? And if people come to me like, well, Jeremy, what do you choose? What do you use? First form or the Fairlife 30-gram protein shakes you can get at Costco. That's my travel go-to. And then, of course, first form is my powder go-to. So, replace some meals, stay on track. Don't just throw caution to the wind because you are traveling.
Yep. Yeah, I really can't say anything better. That's spot on.
Awesome, guys. Let us know if you have traveled recently, and if you've definitely traveled to Disney, let us know what you did. Send us an email just to, kind of give us insights from other people, from clients. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
See you.